Designed for any terrain, the Diode Dynamics Stage Series Fog Pocket Kit is the perfect upgrade for your modular bumper Ford Bronco. Check out the entire video right here. Whether it's the looks or the increased light output, this Diode Dynamics kit is going to completely change the front end. Let's be honest, the factory light output of these Broncos is pretty darn good, especially if you have the Signature Series lamps from the factory. You add a set of aftermarket headlights, you got a little bit more light output. But again, if you're looking for a way to add more light output to the front end of your Bronco without adding a light bar or anything that's totally aftermarket looking, and you want to get that OEM plus look and feel, and you have the modular bumper, this is the way to go because it fits right into the pockets of the modular bumper. This kit is SAE compliant for the fog lights alone, but when you're going off-road and you need even more output, you can hook it up to the auxiliary switch up top and get those other 4 lights going as well. Now, as you can see in front of me, this kit has a lot of different components that add together to get these fog lights on your vehicle. Let's go over them. Starting with the lights, this kit has 2 SS3 LED pods in the SAE compliant fog beam pattern. Again, that's what you would use on the street, and 4 SSC2 LED pods in the combo beam pattern. Between the SS3 SAE fog pattern and the SSC2 combo pattern, those 2 light patterns are going to come together to give you excellent visibility off-road. This kit includes everything you need for installation, from the brackets to the wiring, and obviously on the Bronco, you're going to be tapping into those overhead auxiliary switches for that off-road lighting. Each light in this kit does have a really cool amber backlight. You also have the option for either white or yellow on the fogs, but regardless of which option you choose for the fogs, the off-road lighting will always be white. These lights have been extensively tested from -40 all the way up to 185 degrees Fahrenheit, as well as vibration, moisture intrusion, and corrosion testing, all to ensure these last the test of time. Diode Dynamics does include an 8-year warranty with this kit. I'm very excited to install all this stuff on our Bronco, so let's get rolling. Here are the tools required to install your Diode Dynamics Stage Series Fog Pocket Kit. First, we're going to install the brackets on the modular bumper. Start by removing the 3 T40 Torx bolts. You'll reuse these bolts when you put the bracket on. Install the right bracket on the passenger side as shown with the R towards the center of the vehicle, and tighten those bolts down. And you can repeat with the left bracket on the driver's side. Moving on to the light pods, we'll start by assembling the SS3 pod. This will be your main driving light. You can set aside the included universal harness. We won't be using those for this installation. Insert the nylock nuts into the pods as shown. You want the nylock side facing towards the center of the pod, and secure the bracket using the included bolt and washer. Hand tight is good enough for now because you'll need to adjust these once they're on the vehicle. And you can repeat the process for the other SS3 pod. And now we'll move on to the SSC2 pods. We can set aside the extra wiring and insert the longer bolt through the bracket and into the pod. You'll see we face the tab on the bracket towards the front of the light. Use the Allen key and a socket to tighten it down. And you can repeat that same process for the 3 remaining SSC2 pods. To install the pods onto the bracket that's already installed on the vehicle, insert the carriage bolt so it seats into the rectangular opening, and we'll be mounting the larger SS3 pod on the inside of the bracket. Add your washer, then lock washer, and the provided nut to secure it in place. Then you can repeat that same process for the smaller SSC2 pods. Get the carriage bolt into place. Diode includes a lot of adjustment in these brackets, not only front to back, but also side to side between those 3 slots. We use the center slot for this installation. Again, washer, lock washer, and then nut. And lastly, the 3rd pod. Get them roughly positioned and hand tighten using a 10mm wrench. Remember, you're going to want to align these later when you can turn them on. For this installation, we'll be using the auxiliary switches on the Bronco. We'll start with the fog light harness, which is the silver relay. We'll have to switch out the battery input wire with the power input wire on the fog light harness. It should click right into place. Then move on to the off-road harness, which has the black relay at the end, and we'll swap out the 3-way switch adapter for the OEM auxiliary switch adapter. Now moving under the hood of your Bronco, you'll want to begin laying out the wire harness. The fog light harness has 2 input connectors that need to be ran to the pods themselves. One for the driver's side and one for the passenger. And you'll do the same thing for the off-road harness. Be careful not to run these wires near anything moving or parts that get hot. And don't worry about organizing anything yet. We'll organize it all once everything's hooked up. Grab a Phillips head screwdriver and remove the push pin. You should find the driver's side inputs behind the fender well. You can set those above the frame rail for now. Same with the passenger side inputs as well. Grab the splitters for both fog lights. The connector labeled fog will plug into the SS3 pod, which is the larger of the 3. These connectors are weatherproof, so you may need to push a little hard for them to click into place. And the 2 remaining connectors will be for your off-road lights. Match up the 4-pin connector with the 4-pin input you just ran, and the 2-pin connector as well. And you can do this for both sides. Back in the engine bay, we'll connect our power input wire from the fog light harness into the purple and green wire for the auxiliary switches seen here. Remove the black cap from the purple and green wire, strip it, and then connect it using the included butt connector. Next, we'll just be using the white activation wire to tap into the running lights. You do not need the orange wire, and you can tie this off. Go ahead and feed that down towards the driver's side fog lights. To get access to the headlight harness, you'll need to start by removing the fender flare. You can flip each of these plastic levers. Carefully pull it off the fender. You may have already removed this push pin when feeding the input wires to the fog lights, but if not, go ahead and remove it. As well as this bolt. Pull back the fender liner to get access to this headlight connector. You can disconnect it from the headlight by pressing down on the tab and pulling out. And we'll be tapping the green and orange wire seen here. Place the green and orange wire inside the included tap, use a pair of needle nose pliers, and squeeze it into place. Then get the white activation wire you fed down and plug it into the tap. Once it's secured, you can plug the headlight harness back in. At this point, you can secure any loose wiring and button up this fender well. Back up top, we'll get the ground from the fog light harness, which is the silver relay, and the power and ground from the off-road harness, which is the black relay, connected to the battery. Black side goes to negative, red side goes to positive. Last, we'll be wiring the backlight and main beam wire to our auxiliary switches. You'll see the yellow and blue wires here, along with the off-road relay. The yellow wire, or the main beam wire, will connect to the brown wire on your auxiliary switch harness. The blue wire, or the backlight wire, will connect to a blue and orange wire, which is auxiliary switch 5. Remove the black caps and strip each auxiliary wire. Then crimp each butt connector and make sure they are properly secured. Add some electrical tape to completely cover the connection. Now you're ready to test the lights before you button up all the wiring. Make sure both the backlighting and the main lights work, as well as each of the individual pods that serve as a fog light. To ensure proper functionality, make sure your parking lights or headlights are on. Auxiliary switch 3 will control the fog lights, which is the innermost pod, that's the SS3 pod. Auxiliary switch 4 will turn on everything, that's the SS3 pods in the center and the SSC2 pods on the middle and outside. And the auxiliary switch 5 will be the backlights. The backlights will work if the auxiliary switch 3 and 4 are off, or just 3 is on. And now you can align the fog lights and off-road lights. Once you're happy with how they're aligned, you can tighten everything down. And now it's time to tuck away the excess wiring. We found that creating a loom out of the extra wiring with electrical tape was the cleanest option that looked closest to OEM. You don't have to, but we actually removed the battery and the battery tray and then ran the wiring under and behind the fuse box, as well as along the frame to the passenger side. After the wiring is tied down and away from any moving or hot parts, your installation is complete. All in all, the Diode Dynamics Stage Series Fog Pocket Kit for your Ford Bronco with the modular bumper completely gives you a ton of light output on the front end of your Bronco, whether you're driving on the street or off-road. You have a ton of abilities using the factory auxiliary switches, whether you want everything lit up, just the amber backlights on all 3, or the driving fog light as you can see here. All in all, it really is an awesome package, and honestly, it looks right at home on the rugged appearance of the Ford Bronco. The hardest part about the installation was finding a home for all of that wiring. When you have a modular truck like this and you add all kinds of off-road accessories, that's what those auxiliary switches are there for, but obviously you need to take the time to find the home, the right home, for all of the wiring underneath the hood. If you tuck it under the battery tray and the fuse box, honestly, it looks completely OEM under the hood until you get a little bit closer. But again, just keep it away from all those hot components and you'll be good to go. Comment below and let us know what other Ford Bronco videos you want to see right here on the Steeda YouTube channel. Hit us up at Steeda.com for all of your Bronco parts and accessories. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell, and don't forget the most important thing, speed matters.